Hey there, I'm back at Sidebar with Kristina Wyatt, the Senior Vice President of Global Regulatory Climate Disclosure. That is quite a title with Persefoni. Welcome to the Sidebar, Kristina.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being part of a great panel yesterday. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I love your perspective, right? Because prior to joining Persefoni, you were a Senior Counsel for Climate and ESG to the Director of the Division of Corporation Finance, quite another mouthful of a title, at the Securities and Exchange Commission. So, as we heard yesterday, everyone's talking about this proposal for disclosure, the rules, new rules. Can you give us a sense of what's happening next? We know that the timeline closed, the comments closed. So what happens now?
Yeah, there will be a big process of digesting the comments, of course. There are lots and lots of comments, and so the staff will be busy reading the comment letters and making sense of them, and then the staff in the Division of Corporation Finance, as well as the economists, will be digesting those and figuring out where they might need to make some adjustments to the proposal before going to the final rule. And in the release for the final rule, they'll address many of the significant comment letters, and they need to do that by law under the Administrative Procedures Act.
Makes sense.
So it's a big job.
It is a big job, and it's going to take, what, months?
I think it'll take months. The last I heard was that they're still aiming to adopt by the end of the year.
Okay.
That's a tall order.
Yeah, that is a tall order.
Yeah, there's no doubt that they're busy and they're probably not sleeping very much. But I haven't heard anything different. I haven't heard that they're planning to extend.
So I wanted to ask you about one of the things that, I know that there were a lot of comments on both sides of the equation on this one. The Business Roundtable was pretty critical for a number of reasons, partly because of some of the nuances of the particular requirements, but also they were saying it was going to cost a lot of money. So aren't a lot of companies already disclosing? I mean, isn't this sort of something that's already embedded? I'm just curious about, that kind of...
Absolutely. Many companies are already reporting, and one of the real benefits to the proposal is that it will bring together the reporting in a way that it's more consistent and comparable, and really tell companies what they ought to be reporting, and help them to build systems so that their reporting will become easier, will become more systematized. And of course, there will be tools that are coming on board to help companies with their reporting. So, I think the arguments about the cost are probably a bit overblown, just as they were at the time of Sarbanes-Oxley.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's something that companies will be able to manage. The first year costs are likely to be higher than subsequent costs, but there are also benefits to this. I mean, these are real risks and real opportunities that companies need to be addressing. And so the costs that they incur in order to address those risks and opportunities won't be wasted, in that companies will do a better job necessarily of identifying these risks, figure out a plan as to how to mitigate them, and identifying opportunities. And there's a lot of opportunity to make money in this space, and the companies that do that well, I think, will really thrive.
A couple more questions for you. The first of which is, we've had a very U.S.-centric conversation here, and there's other regulations going into place already. Japan, the EU. So will the U.S. be at a disadvantage if we don't make this involuntary? If we don't make this a regulation?
I think the U.S. has to take a leadership position because we have the leading capital markets in the world. If the SEC rules were to be stuck in litigation for a long period of time, it won't stop companies from reporting. The EU regulations that you mentioned, as well as regulations around the world and even in this country, in California, for example, and the private ordering process, investors pushing companies to make disclosures, we'll certainly continue to keep the pressure on companies to disclose their climate-related risks and opportunities. So that's not going to go away, but the SEC has a huge opportunity here to take a leadership position, as it should, as the leading capital markets in the world, and to set the agenda. And I think that that's the path that they're on.
Great. Well, I appreciate all you're doing. Thank you so much. And Persefoni is a great company. I love this whole category. I'm into software. Thank you for joining us here on Sidebar and for being at the event.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be back for the next interview after this break.